Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into the really fascinating world of large language models, looking at how things stand here in 2025.
Yeah, it's moving so fast.
Exactly. We've pulled together a whole load of industry reports, leaderboards, the works, trying to cut through all the noise and figure out, who are the main players, what can they actually do, and what really makes them different.
Right. We're looking at benchmarks, business analyses, open source comparisons, the whole picture.
It's pretty comprehensive.
Trying to get a real snapshot of a field that's just transforming almost daily, it feels like.
It really does. And keeping up is, well, it's why we're doing this deep dive, right? Information overload is real.
Totally.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. Give you a clear, concise rundown of the key LLMs in 2025. What you need to know, basically.
But without getting bogged down in super technical weeds.
Exactly, your shortcut to getting up to speed.
We want to pull out the really crucial insights, give you some clarity, maybe a few of those aha moments.
Yeah, help grasp what these things are really about.
Precisely.
Okay, let's dive in then. Let's start with the big names, the proprietary models. Some names just keep popping up everywhere. First up, OpenAI's GPT-4o.
Right, GPT-4o. That was a big step. Especially with the integrated multimodal stuff.
Handling images, audio, not just text.
Exactly. Seamlessly. And it's reportedly a huge model. Parameters, well over 175 billion, they say.
Wow.
And a pretty big context window, too, 128,000 tokens. So you can see why it's used everywhere. Customer service, research, you name it.
And there's already buzz about GPT 4.5, right? Rumors about even better reasoning.
Yeah, the anticipation is definitely there. That's the next frontier. Enhancing that core reasoning ability.
Okay, then there's Google Gemini, also built for multimodal from the get-go, text, images, code.
And the context window there is just potentially massive. Up to 2 million tokens in some versions.
8 million, that's hard to even wrap your head around.
It really is. Imagine feeding it several novels at once and it keeping track. That's the kind of scale we're talking about.
And it's plugged into the whole Google ecosystem, Workspace, Vertex AI.
Right, which makes it super accessible and powerful for a ton of users.
Yeah.
And they've also got that Gemini 2.0 flash thinking model, specifically for faster reasoning tasks.
Interesting. Okay, shifting gears a bit, Anthropic's Claude 3.7, that one seems more focused on the enterprise space.
Definitely. They put a really strong emphasis on safety, ethical considerations, things that businesses deploying AI really care about.
Which is becoming more and more critical.
Absolutely. And Claude 3.7 offers fine-tuning, which is valuable for custom jobs. Plus, it integrates with tools people use daily, like Slack and Notion.
Makes sense for big organizations looking for something reliable and secure.
Exactly.
Now, we also have to mention Grok 3. That's from xAI, Elon Musk's venture. Hearing a lot about its reasoning abilities.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz. Some benchmarks are putting its reasoning capabilities right up there, potentially matching GPT-4o.
What's unique about Grok, though?
Well, its training data is a big part of it. It's trained on real-time information from X, formerly Twitter.
Ah, so potentially very current. Understanding social context.
That seems to be the idea. Giving it an edge, maybe, in understanding what's happening right now.
Interesting. And rounding out this first look at the top tier, Qwen 2.5 Max from Alibaba Cloud. Strong on vision and math.
That's right. It handles multimodal input well. And performance-wise, it's reportedly competitive with the big Western players.
And efficient, affordable.
Yeah, that's a key point, too. Makes it a really strong contender, particularly in Asian markets, but potentially beyond as well.
Okay, so that's a quick look at the very top, but our sources show there's a lot more depth in the proprietary space, right? It's not just those few.
Oh, absolutely not. The field is incredibly rich. You've got models like DeepSeek V3, which is really built for speed and automation tasks.
Faster processing.
Exactly. Then there's Google's Gemini 1.5 Flash again, optimized for real-time quick responses.
And ByteDance has Dubao 1.5 Pro, focused on East Asian languages.
Specialized linguistic capabilities. And you can't forget Amazon Nova, tightly integrated with AWS, good for data handling.
Right, the cloud integration is key there. And Cohere's Command R, that's focused on ARG, right? Retrieval Augmented Generation.
Yeah, optimizing those workflows specifically. And then Mistral Large 2, which is interesting because it combines a large parameter count with open weights, which is a bit unusual for proprietary models at that scale.
It really shows how specialized things are getting. There's almost a model tailored for every specific need.
That's exactly it. DeepSeek speed, Gemini flashes immediacy, Dubal's language focus. Each has its niche, its standout feature. It paints a picture of a really diverse ecosystem.
Okay, so that covers the proprietary side pretty well. But what about the other side of the fence? The open source LLMs. That seems like a really dynamic area in 2025.
Oh, absolutely. It's a massive force, democratizing access, community-driven innovation.
Yeah.
It's pushing the whole field forward.
And leading the charge there, it seems like Meta's Llama 3 is still a really big player.
Definitely. Llama 3 is huge. It's open source for research and commercial use under certain terms, which is important.
And flexible too, different sizes.
Very flexible. Parameter options reportedly go up to a massive 405 billion. Plus, it's got strong multimodal features, performs well on standard NLP tasks, good multilingual support,
In the context window.
expanded up to 128K tokens in some versions, plus instruction tuning, better coding skills, especially in models like the Llama 3.3 variant with 70 billion parameters. It's a really powerful open toolkit.
Another name that comes up is DeepSeek R1, focused on reasoning.
Yes, specifically deep reasoning, complex problem solving. It's strong on semantic search, optimized for large data sets.
Customizable too.
Yeah, customizable training options. And the accuracy is apparently very high, competitive even with GPT-4 in areas like coding and math. And importantly, it's under an MIT license, which is very permissive.
Good to know. Then there's Mistral AI. They've got models like Mistral 7B V2, Mistral 8x7B, known for being efficient.
Exactly. Open weights, great balance between being relatively compact and still performing really well. They're fast, efficient.
How do they manage that?
A lot of it is down to their mixture of experts architecture. MoE. Think of it like having a team of specialists inside the model.
Oh.
For any given input, it routes the task to the most relevant expert, or combination of experts.
Yeah.
Very clever way to get efficiency and performance. And being open source just fuels adoption.
Makes sense. We should also mention Falcon 40B from TII, the Technology Innovation Institute. That's a pretty large open source model.
Yeah, 40 billion parameters. It shows really strong performance across a range of NLT tasks.
Yeah.
Language understanding, generation, translation.
Yeah.
It's a significant contribution.
And Bloom 2 from the Big Science Collaboration. What's the focus there?
Bloom 2 is really about that open collaborative development model.
Mm-hmm.
Strong multilingual capabilities, scalability, flexibility. They also emphasize energy efficiency and transparent design. You can kind of see how it works better.
Transparency is definitely a plus. Okay, any other key open source players we should quickly touch on?
Sure, there are quite a few more worth noting. Eleuthera AI's GPTJ 3.5 is known for being competitive with some proprietary options.
Right.
Databricks has DALL-E 3.0, which is very business-focused, high on security and data privacy. Grok AI from Grok Networks, not to be confused with Musk's XAI. Grok is focused on MLOps integration, making deployment smoother.
Okay, practical considerations there?
Yeah. And Google has Gemma 2.0 flash out in the open source space to multimodal good search capabilities. And even Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet has some open source availability, bringing that ethical AI focus.
Wow, that's a lot of options in the open source world. So if you're trying to choose one, what are the main things you should be looking at?
It really comes down to a few key things. First, performance on your specific tasks. How well does it actually do what you need it to do?
Makes sense. Benchmarks can only tell you so much.
Exactly. Then, how easy is it to fine-tune for your specific data or needs? And how easy is it to actually deploy and run?
Practicalities.
Then there's the license. You absolutely have to check the terms. Are they okay for your use case? Especially if it's commercial.
Crucial.
And finally, I'd look at the community support. Is there an active community around it? That usually means better support, ongoing development, troubleshooting help.
Good advice. Okay, this gives us a really solid map of the main players, both proprietary and open source. Let's maybe zoom out a bit now. What are the bigger trends shaping where all this is heading in 2025?
Well, one huge trend is definitely the move towards smaller, more efficient models. We mentioned Tiny Llama, Mixral.
Right, making powerful AI more accessible, less computationally expensive.
Exactly. Lower costs, easier to run on less powerful hardware, even on device sometimes. Sparse expert models, like we discussed with Mistral, are part of that trend too.
What else? Accuracy seems like a perennial issue. Hallucinations.
Big focus there. We're seeing more integration of real-time fact-checking, like in Microsoft Copilot, basically trying to ground the LLM's output in external verifiable data.
To stop them just making things up.
Pretty much. And improving reliability. The dream is built-in citations, automatically showing you where the information came from. That would be a game changer for trust.
Definitely.
Another interesting trend is synthetic training data. using AI to generate data for training other AI.
Kind of bootstrapping itself.
Sort of. It could cut down data collection costs and help improve performance in really specific or niche areas where real-world data is scarce. Google's talked about self-improving models using this approach.
And we're seeing LLMs getting embedded everywhere in business software, right?
Absolutely massive trend. Enterprise integration is huge, improving productivity, automating tasks. You see it with Salesforce, Einstein Copilot, GitHub Copilot. It's becoming standard.
And not just general models, but specialized ones, too.
Yes, the rise of domain-specific LLMs is really noticeable. Bloomberg GPT for finance, MedPolM for medicine, even things like ChatLaw for legal applications.
Trained on specific industry data.
Exactly. So they often achieve much better accuracy and understanding within their specialized field compared to a general model.
And multimodality. We touched on it with GPT-4o and Gemini, but is that becoming standard now?
It's rapidly moving from a nice-to-have to a must-have. Processing text, images, audio, even video. It just opens up so many more applications.
Like analyzing x-rays you mentioned, or generating music.
Or understanding video content, summarizing meetings with audio and visuals.
Yeah.
The possibilities are vast.
Okay, what about agents? AI that can act on its own.
That's another really fascinating, maybe slightly futuristic trend. Autonomous agents. Like OpenAI's O1 concept. Models designed to make decisions and take actions without needing constant human input for every step.
Gartner predicts those will be integrated into enterprise apps soon.
Yeah, that's a strong signal. AI not just assisting, but potentially taking initiative on certain tasks.
Which brings us back to safety and ethics.
Absolutely critical focus. With more power and autonomy, the need for safety, alignment with human values, mitigating bias, it becomes even more paramount.
So techniques like RLHF reinforcement learning from human feedback.
RLHS, fairness-aware training, external audits. All crucial. The whole Gemini image generation incident earlier was a big learning moment for the industry on bias.
Right. And security, as these get more integrated.
Security and risk management are huge concerns. There's even an OWASP Top 10 specifically for LLM vulnerabilities now.
Wow, okay.
So developers are building safeguards, sandboxing, output filters, trying to prevent misuse or manipulation. And finally, just the sheer market momentum, the investment, the new industries popping up around LLMs, it's having a massive economic impact.
It really feels like we're in the middle of something transformative. Maybe let's quickly touch on some specific research highlights just to give a flavor of the cutting edge.
Sure, there's some really cool stuff happening. For instance, research into making reasoning more efficient by teaching models to spot and fix their own flawed reasoning steps.
Self-correction, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. Also studies benchmarking LLMs on real-world tasks, like actual freelance software engineering jobs, which, interestingly, often highlights where they still fall short in complex practical scenarios.
Good reality check.
Then, on a more serious note, work on deterrence frameworks, things like MAME, thinking about national security risks from very advanced AI.
Heavy stuff.
On the lighter side, advances in multimodal emotion recognition, understanding emotions from text, voice, video, development of ultra-compact vision language models for specific tasks like converting documents efficiently.
So really tiny but capable for one job.
Exactly. Also, new methods to better extract and check factual claims from LLM outputs again, tackling that accuracy problem.
That seems key.
We're seeing new benchmarks for multimodal reasoning in tricky areas like science and math. Platforms using LLM agents to actually automate research and write reports in specialized fields, like, say, carbon markets.
Automated researchers.
Potentially, yeah. Benchmarks looking at how well LLMs can reason over really long, complex scientific papers.
That's a challenge.
Definitely. Work on end-to-end multimodal models that can handle lots of different media formats smoothly. And this really interesting idea of AI agents learning directly from interacting with their environment. The era of experience, they're calling it.
Learning by doing, basically.
Yeah, and even decentralized frameworks where different AI agents could potentially teach each other new skills through communication.
Wow. Okay, that's a whirlwind tour of the research front. So let's try to wrap this up. As we bring this deep dive on the 2025 LLM landscape to a close, what are the main takeaways for you? What should our listener really hold on to?
I think the biggest thing is just the sheer speed of innovation, both in proprietary and open source models. It's incredibly fast-paced.
These are changing constantly.
Constantly. And there's this clear push towards, well, a few things.
Yeah.
More efficiency, greater specialization for specific jobs, and these really powerful multimodal and autonomous capabilities emerging.
But alongside that power
Is this absolutely crucial, growing focus on safety, reliability, alignment, ethics, making sure these tools are beneficial and not harmful.
And we keep saying it, but there's no single best LLM, is there?
Not at all. It completely depends on your specific needs, your use case, your context. What are you trying to achieve?
So you really need to think about these trends, these different models, in relation to your own interests or challenges.
Exactly. What capability matters most to you? What trade-offs are you willing to make? That's how you find the right fit.
Okay, here's a final thought to leave everyone with. We've talked about LLMs getting incredibly sophisticated, handling complex tasks, maybe even passing the Turing test in some specific situations. So as these models keep evolving, what does that really mean for how we work with machines in the future, for human-machine collaboration, and maybe even what does it mean for how we define intelligence itself?
That's the big question, isn't it? Something that becomes more relevant, more profound, pretty much every day in this field. Definitely something to ponder.